We're recording. There's Gus. Here's Alan. It's Alan and Gus again. It's kind of windy out, so I hope you guys can hear us all right or hear me okay. Um, and talk just a few minutes about what's on my mind. Um, I'm sure everybody's heard of the famous saying or initials or whatever. What would Jesus do? The famous, or should I say infamous, WWJD, like the bracelets and shirts and everything. I think it's not a bad idea. It's a clever marketing tool, and it could be. Uh, um, I mean, it makes sense. What would Jesus do? But I think a far more productive way of looking at that, uh, or using Jesus as an example, which would allow less room for error, would be what would Jesus not do? Because it's what would Jesus do only comes up in situations where it's almost like if it were in a movie or something, or a chance for someone to act with a behavior of merit, or something like that, or to give somebody something as if it's like one event, like once a week, or comes up occasionally, or and also when you have what would Jesus do, basically that characteristic is sums it up to Jesus. I don't know. It's hard to think. What would Jesus not do is a far better thing to apply to one's day to day life, or and day to day, minute to minute life. Not walking around all stiff, trying to quote scriptures and make sure that you don't do anything wrong, but being yourself freely and being kind and loving others. Like, it would be more so effective if people looked at it like that, because when things like if someone starts to gossip about someone, no matter if I won't say good or bad, gossip isn't really good, or spread rumors, or just speak of anyone in a way that they wouldn't speak to that person to their face, and say that you're present around that, to not engage in that. That's something that Jesus wouldn't do. He wouldn't engage in that. If you're in a vehicle, and whether you're running late somewhere or not, and someone gets in front of you going just a little below the speed limit, and you begin to become angry, that's something that Jesus wouldn't do. See, I think to look at what would Jesus not do would be a far more useful thing to apply to one's day to day life than what would Jesus do, because what he would do is you have a concept of an image of Jesus walking around quoting Bible scriptures all the time, I suppose, or like, again, just doing one act every now and then that makes makes him look righteous, or things like that. Not knocking it, but again, what would Jesus not do would filter out much more of the non-Christian like behavior that most Christians participate in. And I mean, in particular, the small stuff. It's the small things. If you're watching something on your television, and the pastor comes to your house, if you change the channel, that's something. Anything that's hidden, anything that you would change to keep an image for someone else, I don't think that Jesus would do. Again, one thing I want to touch on, real particular, is the gossip, or slander of others, the mocking of others. I don't think Jesus would partake in anything like that. And I don't know of a Christian who doesn't do things like that. And that's normal human nature. And I'm just, bringing up the what would Jesus do thing with a better alternative. I think he would be far more friendly and accepting. And if he's seen a hobo on the side of the road with a pint of whiskey in a brown paper bag stuck in his hand, I believe Jesus could go over and sit down next to him and start talking about anything. Just because in order to get through to somebody, if you're actually wanting to help them and not just tell them what they already know, which you know if they're doing something you consider wrong. I talk on this in the videos a lot, and I think it should be mentioned more often, is that the people whom are in dire straits, if you will, and the people on Skid Row, and things like that, are far more in need of the edification that's supposed to come from church services than all the people who dress nice and have really nice cars and go to a really nice heated and air conditioned building, where they say solemn prayers on Sunday mornings, and then afterwards go to a nice restaurant, and then after that, go back to their nice homes and have ice cream, and even if they've got to work the following day, it's like a doctor, okay, like this. A good doctor who's not in it, who's actually in it to help people, wants to get rid of his patients in the way of he doesn't want them to come back. He wants to cure them so that they can be healthy and not come back. A doctor that's in it for other reasons would want to continue to see, and I'm not talking about I'm talking loose here about not having, general checkups or whatever, but just in general, a good doctor, a good physician wants to heal his patient, not want them to keep coming back. You could compare a doctor with a physician like Jesus, he, or like your local preachers, which I always give a hard time to, and the hypocrites and stuff. They seem to, want to not only have the appearance as though they've done a healing, but they want the people to continue to come back, and they'll say things like, "Oh, the Bible says assemble yourselves and this and that," and they I don't. I think that's fine, and I think it's a good idea, but I don't think it should be put before going out and trying to help your fellow humans in the world. If you're going to church with everyone who doesn't really have any actual, real life problems. I mean, look at, again, in the material realm, with a parking lot full of nice vehicles, in a nice heating and air conditioned church and all these things, everybody got clean clothes on. If you do that more often than you go out to the slums to where people are really having an unfortunate and really need some legwork put in, then my opinion is that's just backwards. Again, I don't know. It's I just talking. But what would Jesus not do would be a far easier thing, because if you can come up on many decisions and uh, stuff like that in life to where you could apply what would Jesus do. But it seems like when if that comes to mind, that people what involuntarily comes to mind is something, a Bible verse or some comparison of the closest situation to like that Jesus would have been in. All this further extra mental weight that arises when just consider out of the options what would Jesus not do, and you can narrow it down a lot quicker, I think, and get a much more uh, uh, say better better results, should I say? And then I don't know. Again, I'm just talking, but that's a new campaign I would like to start. Is what would Jesus not do? Because there's so many things that just because you give a certain amount of money to a homeless shelter or a charity, or happen to see someone on the side of the road and stop or an old lady and change your tire for her, or all these things that are actually glorifying type stuff for the most part, the what would Jesus do things, or things that also glorify oneself. But to see what would he not do would be a better representation for people who claim they want to represent what Christ stood for and stuff, because that's what I feel as though I'm here for, is to check some of these people, because I'll repeat myself again, just if you spend more time gathering with a group of people who all claim to be saved and all claim that you got your deacons and this and that, and you talk about the Bible said, assemble yourselves and you got to have a home church and this and that, and a group of people who all think and act alike. But if you do that 10 to 1 more than you are boots on the ground trying to do this work of God, then I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong or anything's right or wrong. I'm just pointing out obvious things that ought to be obvious, then you ought to recalibrate your what you're calling yourself there, because I think Jesus would, if it comes down to missing a church service, in order to spend an extra 2 or 3 hours talking to someone who's on the verge of harming themselves or something like that. All the Christians, all the church people I know would be looking at their watch. I've got to get to church. There's something more important than this workout here in the field. We've got to gather ourselves together. And then all the people quote Paul. Paul said this. Paul said that. And there's no. I love the Bible, but just when you add common sense to it, and what would Jesus not do, I think Jesus will be like, you go ahead and go meet with all the people who are supposedly in good shape and assemble yourselves and this and that, while I'll go ahead and deal with this person here who don't have anyone to talk to. And furthermore, and not just try to recruit him to go to church like most people are doing, is trying to expand the list of. It's like a doctor trying to get more and more and more patients. I don't know, but yeah, that's just something that was on my mind. Gus, is that everything? No, I guess Gus is about done too. Thanks for watching this, and I'll get some more videos out. But remember, anytime you, in any decision, and not just when big decisions come up or medium decisions, but every breath you take, I mean, every way you go about life, just whether it be appreciating the things that you do have more, or trying to tamp down the unappreciation you have, which I'm guilty of too. Um, it would be a far better way to live, and you could apply it to many more situations, because a lot of situations require as far as a positive reaction, something different than, trying to find a situation that Jesus was in the Bible and compare it or whatever. I'm sure Jesus would be rolling his eyes right now, um, but yeah, I appreciate it again. Thanks, guys, and remember, try to be nice to one another. I'm working on that myself still, and I believe that's all. Thanks for watching.